This is an AirTag. It's Apple's latest little tracking gizmo. And I think it's perfect for giving people like us peace of mind. And when I say people like us, obviously, I mean people who carry around lots of expensive cameras and lenses and lights and who are, for the most part, easy targets, easy pickings. We're obvious choices for somebody looking for an opportunistic way to steal and make some money. We've all read the horror stories. We've all got friends who've shared their horror stories. We've might have all, unfortunately have our own horror stories to share. Somebody, follows you home from a shoot. Somebody tracks you. We saw that one story where the couple was coming back from the wedding shoot and somebody in the middle of, traffic in broad daylight smashed their windshield and took their camera bag. Photographers have been robbed at gunpoint. It's a scary world out there. So this is just a little nugget that gives you a peace of mind. It is not a foolproof anti-theft device, but it is probably the best object tracker that is available right now. There are other companies that make things that are similar to this. I used to have a Tile, but it wasn't very good because it didn't work beyond Bluetooth range. And when you lose something or when you get something stolen, very often it goes just a little bit further than Bluetooth range. So it's kind of pointless. I guess if you're the type of person who leaves your keys, in the couch, then I guess a Tile would be useful. But this is really clutch for when you're out, on a shoot, when you're out on location, and you just need to keep track of your stuff because you can tether a bunch of these to your iPhone. You can label them appropriately, and they have different tracking modes. If you just need to find it really quick, it'll, it's got a speaker. It'll make a noise and make its presence known. If you're within Bluetooth range, it'll give you exact pinpoint coordinates to find it. So it'll tell you like, hey, 3 feet to the left, 4 feet to the right, etc. And it uses Apple's vast network of iPhones to constantly update its tracking information. So for example, if you lose this thing and it's attached to your camera bag, whenever the camera bag moves, wherever it goes, and it passes somebody with an iPhone, its location will be updated and you can kind of track it on your phone. Now look, Apple is very dedicated to privacy and security, so that does kind of conflict with the full potential to use this as an anti-theft device, because if this thing is separated from your iPhone for long enough, and let's say, for example, someone steals your bag and you have this in your bag, after about 2 or 3 hours, Apple hasn't really elaborated on that, it will let the person know, if they have an iPhone, that there is an unmarked AirTag near them. So obviously if they're a thief, they're gonna look for it and they're gonna toss it, and that kind of like dilutes its value as an anti-theft device. But you do have a couple of hours. So if you have your camera bag stolen, if a crime happens, or if you just lose it, you do have a couple of hours to kind of track it, alert the police. Obviously, don't try to take things into your own hands. Other, cool uses for this, it doesn't even have to be anything as nefarious as theft, but like, for example, I had a shoot last year before COVID that required me to fly to Germany. We had a stop in France, and of course, Air France lost half my gear because, what is every photographer's worst nightmare, when you get on a plane, right? Is that they make you check your stuff because the overhead bins are all full. Obviously, we try to avoid that, but sometimes it's inevitable. And in this particular case, I actually had a large case of stands and lights that I needed for an architecture shoot. Thankfully, I always carry a spare set of lights and stands in my regular luggage, so I can still get the job done for just a situation. But they did lose a good amount of my kit, and they couldn't give me an update. They couldn't tell me where it was. It was very frustrating. When we landed in Germany, I spent probably like 4 hours talking to the person. They couldn't track it. They didn't know where they left it. And so I went on with my shoot. So I was shooting and I had no idea what happened to my stuff. And finally, a couple of days later, they called me and they told me that they actually left it in France and that they would fly it to me. So the story does have a happy ending, but it would have made my life so much easier if I would have had one of these things on there and I could have just told them like, hey, it says it's still in France. Your stupid people left it in France. Can you get my stuff? Yeah, if you're, a dumbass and you leave your gear in your car, which you shouldn't do, but if you do and someone breaks into it and takes it, this will give you an advantage to at least track them, to alert the police. Obviously, if you have an Android, this is kind of irrelevant to you because if you need an iPhone to track it. But if you're an iPhone user, these things are hella clutch. They are the best tracking. I mean, it's crazy how accurate in real time. These things track. Like you can put this thing on your dog and let it run around, and it'll update in Apple Maps, like, and it'll tell you where your dog is. So lots of uses for this. Obviously, there are some nefarious uses for this, which is why Apple has limited some of the tracking features, such as alerting people when there is an unidentified one near them, because obviously you don't want people stalking people. If you are an Android user, I think after like a day or so, this thing will start beeping and making a noise if it's near you. So another cool feature about this, and this is actually really helpful if you do lose something, is that if somebody finds your camera bag, let's say you lose it, at a train station or something, you can upload custom messages, because whether they have an iPhone or an Android, they will get a message that'll say like, hey, you are near this AirTag. This item belongs to John Smith, photographer. Here is his contact information if you want to return it. And you can even put a reward. You can say like, hey, there's a reward of $100 if you return this camera bag. Apple does sell these with some keychains that you can buy. And I guess if you're just worried about your keys, that's great. But if you're going to use this as an anti-theft device, you definitely do not want it visible, because, criminals, they adapt, they evolve. We all saw, Batman Begins, escalation. They figure shit out. So if they see this on your bag, obviously they're going to steal your bag, and then they're just going to take this and throw it away. And that kind of defeats the purpose of having a tracking device. So if you're going to use this as an anti-theft device, don't leave it somewhere visible. Do not put it in one of those keychains that Apple sells and just kind of hang it off your bag casually. It's not a cute little accessory. Then you want to keep it hidden, put it in a hidden compartment in your bag, somewhere where a potential thief wouldn't think to look, because then they're not going to have the opportunity to just toss it, and it's going to give you at least a couple of hours to get a head start and kind of figure out where your stuff is. So that's just one little pro tip if you're going to use this as an anti-theft device. Lots of really cool features, and I went ahead and picked up 4 of them. I got one in my camera bag, in my wallet. I'll probably have plenty of uses for the other 2, but for the price, $99, really can't be beat. So if you're a photographer, if you're a filmmaker, you walk around with a lot of expensive gear, you're always a little bit nervous. Obviously, you should carry insurance, for worst case scenarios, but this is just gonna save you a lot of headaches if, something bad happens, if you, get robbed, if someone steals your stuff, or if, you just have one of those days and you forget something somewhere. This is gonna give you a lot of peace of mind. So I highly, highly recommend picking up a couple of these. And that was just a quick little update on my latest Apple purchase. I will see you next time.